You keep waiting for motivation to fix your life, but it never stays long enough to matter, leaving you stuck repeating the same habits again and again. Motivation feels powerful in the moment, but disappears quickly, making you depend on emotions that constantly change instead of building something stable and reliable over time. Discipline works differently because it doesn't depend on how you feel. It depends on what you decide to do repeatedly, even when your energy is low. The real problem is not lack of motivation. It's the habit of waiting for the perfect mood before taking action, which almost never actually comes. Most people start strong, full of excitement and plans, but quit when things get boring because motivation cannot carry you through uncomfortable and repetitive work. Discipline is what keeps successful people moving forward, even when they feel tired, distracted, or completely unmotivated to continue working on their goals. When you build discipline, you remove the need to constantly decide what to do, because your actions become automatic and part of your daily routine. Motivation makes you start, but discipline makes you continue, and without continuation, nothing you begin will ever turn into real results or meaningful progress. Every successful person you see is not more motivated than you. They are simply more consistent, and consistency always comes from discipline, not emotional energy. If you only work when you feel inspired, you will never reach your full potential because inspiration is rare, but discipline can exist every single day. Motivation creates short bursts of energy, but discipline creates long-term systems that keep working even when your feelings completely disappear and your mood drops. When you rely on motivation, you become inconsistent, starting and stopping constantly, which destroys progress and keeps you stuck in the same place. Discipline removes this chaos by giving you structure, making your actions predictable and your results more stable over time without depending on temporary emotions. The truth is simple but uncomfortable. Discipline is boring, repetitive, and not exciting, but that's exactly why it works better than motivation long term. Your brain prefers comfort, so it pushes you to avoid effort, but discipline trains your brain to act despite discomfort and resistance. Every time you act without motivation, you strengthen your discipline, making it easier next time to repeat the same action without thinking too much. The more you rely on discipline, the less you need motivation, because your habits start running automatically without emotional input or constant internal debate. Waiting for motivation is like waiting for perfect weather. It might come sometimes, but most of the time you will just waste time doing nothing. Discipline means you show up anyway, even when conditions are not ideal, because progress depends on action, not on perfect circumstances. This is where most people fail. They confuse feeling ready with being ready, and those are completely different things in real life. You don't need to feel ready to start. You need to start in order to become ready, and discipline is what makes that possible consistently. Motivation tells you to do everything at once, but discipline teaches you to do small actions daily, which is much more effective long term. Small actions repeated daily build momentum, and momentum makes everything easier because starting becomes less difficult over time. Without discipline, you will always restart from zero because you never stay consistent long enough to build real progress or momentum. Discipline helps you continue even when results are invisible, which is important because most progress happens before you can actually see it. Many people quit too early because they expect fast results, but discipline allows you to stay patient and trust the long-term process. Success is not about doing something once, it's about doing it hundreds of times, even when you don't feel like it at all. The difference between average and successful people is not intelligence, but consistency. And consistency always comes from discipline. Discipline gives you control over your actions, while motivation leaves you controlled by your emotions, which are unstable and unpredictable. When you understand this, you stop blaming yourself for lack of motivation and start building systems that actually work. Discipline is not something you are born with. It is built through repetition, patience, and the willingness to act even when your mind is full of excuses. Every time you choose action over comfort, you reinforce your identity as someone who follows through, which is the foundation of long-term success. Motivation fades because it is emotional, but discipline stays because it is based on decisions that you commit to repeating daily. If you build strong habits, you reduce friction, making it easier to act without overthinking, which increases your consistency significantly over time. The key is to make your habits so simple that you cannot fail, because consistency matters more than intensity in the beginning stages. Over time, these small actions compound into bigger results, even if they seem insignificant at the start of your journey. Discipline removes emotional decision-making, allowing you to act based on logic instead of temporary feelings that often lead you in the wrong direction. When your actions become automatic, you save mental energy, which can then be used to improve your skills instead of fighting yourself every day. This is why disciplined people appear calm, because they are not constantly negotiating with themselves about whether to take action or not. They already decided what to do, so they simply execute, regardless of how they feel in that specific moment. If you want discipline, start by setting clear rules for yourself, because rules remove uncertainty and make your behavior more consistent. For example, instead of saying you will work more, decide exact times and actions, making your routine structured and easier to follow daily. Structure creates freedom, because it removes chaos, allowing you to focus on execution instead of constantly deciding what to do next. Discipline also requires removing distractions, because it is hard to stay consistent when your environment constantly pulls your attention away. Your environment matters more than your motivation, because a focused environment makes discipline easier and distractions harder to access. If your phone is always near you, you will check it, so remove it from your workspace to reduce temptation and improve focus. Discipline is not about forcing yourself forever. It is about designing your life so that the right actions become easier to take. The easier your system, the more likely you are to stay consistent, because you remove unnecessary resistance from your daily routine. Motivation requires effort every time, but discipline reduces effort over time, making your actions feel more natural and automatic. This is why discipline scales while motivation burns out, because one depends on effort and the other builds efficiency through repetition. People who succeed are not always motivated. They are simply better at doing things they do not feel like doing on a daily basis. This ability separates those who talk about goals from those who actually achieve them, because action matters more than intention every single time. Discipline turns your goals into systems, and systems are what create predictable results, not random bursts of motivation. When you trust your system, you stop relying on feelings, and your progress becomes more stable and less dependent on external factors. Even on bad days, your system keeps working, which means you still move forward. Even if the progress feels small, small progress is still progress. And over time, it creates massive results that are impossible to achieve through inconsistent effort. Most people underestimate consistency because it feels slow, but in reality, it is the fastest way to achieve long-term success. Discipline teaches patience, which is necessary because real results take time. And without patience, most people quit too early. The longer you stay consistent, the easier it becomes because your brain adapts and starts accepting discipline as normal behavior. At that point, discipline is no longer hard. It becomes part of your identity, and acting consistently feels natural. You stop asking if you feel motivated because it no longer matters. Your actions are already decided and executed automatically every day. This is when real progress begins, because you are no longer controlled by emotions, but by systems that support your long-term goals. You gain control over your life because your results are no longer random. They are the direct outcome of your consistent actions. Discipline gives you freedom because it removes the chaos that comes from relying on unstable motivation and unpredictable emotions. The more disciplined you become, the more confident you feel, because you trust yourself to follow through no matter what happens. That confidence is built through action, not thinking, because every completed task proves that you can rely on yourself consistently. You don't need to be perfect, you just need to keep going, because consistency over time will always outperform perfection done occasionally. Discipline is not easy, but it is simple. And once you accept that, you stop overcomplicating things and focus on execution instead. The system is clear. Act daily, stay consistent, ignore emotions, and results will come as a natural consequence of your behavior. The only question left is whether you will continue waiting for motivation or finally start building discipline and changing your life step by step.